Here.
Hello, we're back again. Hi, it's Bill Fairman with the Passive Wealth Show. Have you guys ever wondered about relationships with different funds, smaller and larger, and how they trade their loans, recapitalize? At the same time, we had on a guest a couple of weeks ago with Hiatus Homes that for the tiny homes and wondering how you can scale that business as well. We're going to cover all of that right after this. Greetings. Again, welcome to the Passive Wealth Show. I am Bill Fairman. This is Jonathan Davis. Wendy is traveling and won't be able to join us. Today is Jonathan's birthday. Do we have any celebration for him in the background? Any graphics maybe?
Very nice. Very
awesome.
Nice. Oh,
so
man.
we are Carolina Capital Management. We are lenders in the Southeast for real estate investors. If you're a borrower interested in borrowing money in the Southeast, go to our website, carolinahardmoney.com, and click on the Apply Now tab. If you're a passive investor and you're looking for passive returns, click on the Accredited Investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell. And by the way, we have a comment and question section either on the right-hand side of your screen or underneath, depending on the platform you're viewing us from. So don't hesitate to answer a question or ask a question. Jonathan will have to follow up with those because I am at the airport and I'm using my cell phone to light my face. And it's covering the comment section of the screen.
That's funny.
Some people would say you might as well just leave the light off your face. It's not that great anyway, right?
Bill, you do have a face for radio.
Oh, thank you. I'm taking my happy birthday back.
You definitely have the voice for it.
Oh, thanks. Okay. So what do we got going on today? Oh, we have Ryan Andrews, a good friend of ours. And I want to say Hiatus Homes, but also KYC and Phoenix. Ryan has a ton of different fingers in pies. There's only one other person I know that's not involved in as many ventures as he is. So I don't know how you keep up with it. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, happy to be here. Thanks for having me and fun to see you again.
You have children, right?
I do. I've got three little girls, 7, 4, and 2, almost 3.
Wow.
And preschool's canceled this week. And so a couple of them are downstairs right now. So you might hear them like, I don't know, scream and bang on my door at any minute. But yeah, so 3 little girls that keep me super busy.
That's all right. We have some screaming children behind Jonathan as well, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know the feeling. 3 girls here too, and they're all downstairs. So
I'm just amazed at all the ventures that you're a part of. How to keep all that organized. I'm terrible at organizing. I have people that organize for me. They just point me in the direction. Here, handle this now.
Yeah, it's fun. I've always, I really enjoy having a lot of different things going on, and I break it down into basically two halves of my business. So the one half is working with KYC Phoenix and managing that fund primarily, which is what our relationship really started out on and is based in. Then on the other half of my business, I sponsor basically development projects. And so I act as a CFO and sponsor for all kinds of development projects. Most of that is within the Hiatus Homes brand. And so we can chat about that a little bit more today. I know you guys connected with my partner, Jesse Russell, a couple weeks ago and had a really cool interview around the philosophy and everything behind that. And so, yeah, we can cover that. We can cover, certainly the private debt space, which I've spent a lot of time in, and we've all spent a lot of time talking about and structuring our relationship around. So, happy to jump in kind of wherever you guys want to.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and start off with kind of explaining our relationship currently. So, as a smaller fund, uh, we try to grow, and we don't always have enough capital to make our loans with. And what do you do? So, we have relationships with other funds that will come in and buy blocks of our loans, so to speak. We still service them and keep the relationship, but that allows our fund to continuously recapitalize, have enough money to lend with, and at the same time, we still have decent returns for our investors. You guys are doing this in a lot of different areas of the country, aren't you?
We are, yeah. So our fund that we've invested with Carolina Capital Management with invests across the country. All of our capital comes from offshore, and then is invested into U.S. real estate loans, private loans originated by groups like you guys. And so we've picked a bunch of different geographies around the US that we love because of lots of different momentum factors. And we have this really cool technology behind our fund that's basically a big data algorithm that crunches 30 to 40 different data points in each zip code in the US and then spits out a bond rating of which zip codes do we like and which ones do we not like. And the region you guys are lending in, the Southeast, especially the Carolinas, ranks just really high on our in our big data algorithm. And so, I guess we've been working together for about a year now. But before that, I'd been looking for lenders in your guys' region. I was like, all right, where are you guys? Where are you guys? We got to get some exposure to this market. We never originate loans. We can't because of our structure. We always partner with a local or regional originator that knows the market, knows the borrowers, knows the neighborhoods, and is able to really cultivate those close relationships with borrowers, and then service the loans. And, folks locally are able to do that so much better than we are when we're trying to have this kind of national reach. But we then act as hopefully a great partner and a capital partner to come in and provide capital in large, more institutional type chunks to allow funds like you guys to grow. And so, yeah, you guys have been an awesome partner over the last year. We've probably bought 30 or 40 loans from you, and we're working right now on finalizing a new structure that'll help that grow, hopefully, hopefully double in size or so. So, yeah, I'm excited to get that kicked off, hopefully in the next just couple of weeks. And it's been fun to work together over the last year.
Yeah. And to touch on that, you all, in my opinion, you're doing it the right way. You see so many funds come in and they create this credit box so that they can, lend or buy nationally without knowing the localized market and not having boots on the ground or people who understand those markets. Because even inside of a zip code, you have good areas and you have bad areas inside that zip code. In neighborhoods, you have good streets and you have not as good streets. So you need that local knowledge, and you all, I think, more than most understand that, and that's a great asset to, I think, your all success is you understand real estate is local, which is great.
Yeah, real estate is definitely local. It's just, it's hard to compete. And if you think about it, if you're a national lender, you're trying to lend everywhere, you go into a market, you might end up lending on a project that all the local guys passed on because they're like, oh, that's a bad borrower, bad street, bad neighborhood. For whatever reason, the momentum isn't going there. But if you don't know, even if you fly in on a plane and spend an afternoon in the neighborhood, you're not going to learn everything. And so you risk making mistakes and making bad loans to bad borrowers if you don't know the region and you're not in the region. And so, yeah, for us, always super important to partner with a local group. That's way more efficient for us to have a national reach through local and regional lenders than it is to try and do it all ourselves. And then again, our software that kind of backs our platform, just acts as a guide for us to be able to have a good idea of where we want to target and where we don't. And then it also gives a cool discussion point of where sometimes it doesn't. Usually it always matches up with what our lenders, are seeing in the market. But when it doesn't, then it opens up a cool dialogue between like, okay, well, what's actually happening here on the ground, where maybe the model doesn't capture everything. And so, where can we pick up a good debt investment anyway, kind of on the fringes of the model. So yeah, appreciate your guys' local knowledge. And so I was down there with you. What is this? Been a couple of months ago now. It's January this year. And spent a couple of days, I don't know, we probably drove 250 miles around the greater Charlotte area, looking at projects you've done, not done, new stuff, existing stuff that was in our portfolio. And so that just gave me an outstanding feel for the area and a lot of confidence, in the deals and streets you guys are picking and all. So we came back huge fans of your guys' region even more. So,
well, thank
Excellent.
you.
Good to hear. It's funny. There was a discussion last night about AI helping in the health field, and one of the things that they pointed out is you always have to have that human factor in there, and this is what you're talking about. You have to have the boots on the ground, the people that know the area, because your algorithms might say one thing, but I definitely don't want a computer saying or diagnosing me without having an actual human in there looking at it, because you could have 2 pixels can make a completely different diagnosis.
Yeah.
And the same thing's going to work with your algorithms. It's a guide. It's not
right.
written in stone, and that's why you have to have those local people there.
Yeah, you bet.
Great. I just got a warning that my internet is a little slow. Should have had that warning earlier, right? Ryan, let's go to the Hiatus Homes things that we talked about before. We love the concept with the tiny homes. You can turn those into apartment buildings. You can turn those into subdivisions. But when we ended our conversation, we were starting to get into how do you scale that nationally. So do you have some ideas on that?
Yeah, we do. And that's definitely the goal with that brand. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a recap on the Hiatus Homes business model. So Hiatus Homes is a fully vertically integrated land developer through construction. So we acquire our own property, we entitle it, we do our horizontal, we're a general contractor, so we build our vertical construction, and then we even handle all our marketing. We don't just throw our units up on an MLS and hope for the best. We handle all of our marketing to drive interest from a specific type of buyer that wants this home. And so these are small homes, a couple different models between 400 and about 1,200 square feet. That go from like lofted studios to 2-bedroom models. And we try and build basically high density detached, or if we're doing multifamily, do a really tasteful and efficient high density. Then the other piece is the energy efficiency. So we build to net zero on our projects. So super good insulation. They're solar ready, electric vehicle charging in the garage. So that's kind of our ethos underneath it. And so that appeals to a lot of people in the new, basically kind of emerging housing movement, where people are looking for smaller homes. They're looking for good locations, energy efficiency, smartly designed houses instead of, kind of big sprawling homes in the suburbs per se. And so we're appealing to that. It's been really successful in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Bend, Oregon, so this is where we kind of pioneered the model. It required some code changes in the city building code initially for us to even be able to do this, which we worked closely with the city of Bend to do. And now the state of Oregon has even kind of picked up this flag and recently passed a bill to allow this type of, small, higher density detached housing and residential zoning and all. And so this is definitely a growing movement across the US. So that's kind of all the tee up to answer your real question of how does this thing scale? And so, it was almost a perfect segue to talk about how the Phoenix Debt Fund scales by finding local partners, because we recognize we can't be present in every single market and get the competitive advantage from having local knowledge. So with Hiatus Homes, it's really the same business model in that, we're building a fund here, which we can talk about the structure of that and kind of the unique structure for a capital or a development fund. But basically, we have the plans, we have the construction, we have the project management, we have the know-how to push things through entitlement and engineering and layout and design. We have the marketing piece. And so we know we can sell our homes to these, this huge waiting list of people in different regions that are looking to buy our unique product. They're not just looking for any home. And so we have all that. And then we also have the capital backing. So because of the Hiatus Capital Fund, where we brought a bunch of individual investors into our equity investment fund that acquires the land and entitles the properties, we have the capital to be able to do these. But what's missing, if we're going to scale, is a local partner. And so as we grow, even across Oregon, across the Pacific Northwest, and then nationally, hopefully this is over the next 5 to 7 years, I would say. We want same thing. We want a local partner that's a local expert in, zoning, local planning commission, knows the people on the city council, and can grab coffee with them and talk about the value of this kind of housing. And we can set them up as like, okay, that's our local quarterback that's in market, but they don't have to go pioneer the model and market it and figure out how to do it and build it or raise capital for it. That's all done, and we can provide all of that. And so it can create a unique partnership to hopefully, port this model all over. Because one of the biggest things we're getting from our marketing, that we initially geared our marketing toward people that want to buy our homes and are looking for this type of home. Well, that marketing's gotten out to a lot of people that own land, tracts of land in Phoenix, Arizona, or Texas, or Pennsylvania, and they call us now and are like, hey, I really want you guys to build your development product on my piece of land. How do we do this? And so that gives us a unique way to access and acquire land parcels where landowners don't want to just sell to anybody. They're like, oh, I love your guys' unique Hiatus Homes product. That's what I want on my parcel. How can we work something out where either we partner with a landowner and a local developer, or they become our local partner that knows the city council, or, we have some kind of terms that allows this to work. And so that's been another unique part of this that really helps this thing scale. So again, we're not scratching our heads like, how do we find a piece of land in South Carolina? Like, somebody comes to us with a great tract, and that's what draws us into the next market.
Gotcha. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, on the the end user. Two questions on that. Are they typically like millennial aged, or what? Who are you selling these homes to primarily?
Yeah, good question. So, and it was funny. Our first development called Hiatus Benham here in Bend, Oregon, was 22 small homes. So 400 square foot footprint, dual loft. We thought we were going to sell those to a lot of Bend is very much like a tourist community. We've got a ski mountain 15 miles away, and mountain biking, and rivers and fishing and everything. And so we thought we were going to sell them to service workers, because these homes sold for between $230,000 and $330,000. The median home price in Bend at the time was about $500, so it was like half the median home price. So really affordable on a dollar basis. And so we thought, initially, all right, we're going to sell these to people that work in the service industry, people that work at the mountain, or bartenders or whatever, are finally going to be able to buy a home. Mm-hmm. Well, we probably would have been able to do more of that if we had 122 of them. But with 22 of them, they got snapped up really quickly. And it was a mix, but it was mostly, educated people with a professional career, either young, and so kind of like at the beginning of their career, but, still wanting to buy a home, or people that were in kind of like their 50s. So, later in their career, but single, they didn't have a lot of space requirements. They just wanted this cool model. And because they were single, the community aspect is a really important piece of this. So the homes weren't built like row homes all next to each other. They were potted in like kind of semicircles of 5 homes overlooking a community garden or a little pond or a fire pit. And so it also attracted people that were like, hey, I'm single, but I want to meet other people and have almost like a community that I'm with in that environment. And so, so it attracted a couple different genres of people. And then what we've noticed, so we're about halfway through our second development called Roanoke, which is 10 2-bedroom models. They're 900 square feet plus a 1-car garage. And those have sold very well. And again, those have sold a little bit more to like couples, although some single folks. But one of the things that was funny is there was 2 of the people that had bought the small homes in the original Benham community started dating, and we're like, well, we want to move in together. We want to be together. Like, we need a little bit bigger home. And so then they moved out of that one and bought one of our 2-bedroom homes on the other side of town. And so, it was just kind of funny that community aspect actually resulted in 2 couples. And then one of them actually upgraded into one of our other homes that was a little bigger, but same philosophy. And so, that's it is some millennials, young professionals. It's definitely some older single professionals as well. And then it's been some couples that like live in Portland, but use it as a second home in Bend. And because they're not here full time, they're fine having a small home without, a garage and storage and all the larger things that we have. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a couple different profiles of who's been buying our homes.
That's awesome. My other part was, and excuse my ignorance here, how is the financing for a home like this? What does that look like? Is it like this? Can you get the same kind of financing as you would a regular single family home? What does that look like?
Yeah, like the buyer's financing.
Yeah, the buyer's financing.
Yeah, it's there's some interesting iterations on this. The short answer is it's traditional financing, totally normal traditional mortgage, because these are on foundation homes on their own tax lots. They own the land. They're on foundation stick-built homes. Now, originally, early on in the model, we were building tiny homes on wheels, which is kind of your traditional tiny home, tiny home on wheels. Well, that's almost impossible to finance because it's not attached to land. It's not stick-built. It's permitted by the DMV, not the housing department. Like it was so hard to get financing. And so again, even though those are really affordable, it's really hard for folks to actually buy them unless they have $80,000 in cash. And then once they have them, it's really hard for them to find a piece of land to park them on, because zoning inside most city limits around the United States says, well, you can't do that. You can't have a trailer or an RV or, whatever it is that you're living in. And so those were unfinanceable. Then the second iteration of this was on foundation, but modularly built. So we're having these things built in a factory and then shipped over, factory over in Eugene on the other side of the Cascades from us, then shipped over the mountains, backed onto the foundation, attached. And this sounded like really smart and efficient because, you build it in a factory, but geez, it ended up being a nightmare. The transportation cost was excessive. Getting it on the foundations was really hard. And then it put height limits on us where the loft was then only 4.5 feet. So you're ducking down, nobody can have to stand up on that. And so once we started stick building them on foundation, on their own tax parcel, we're able to just qualify for a regular mortgage, and it removed so many burdens. But the hurdle we had to cross to get there was we needed city building code to adapt to 2 things, basically. One being the really small lot sizes that we use to put these small homes on. And then 2, allowing a small home. You could not have a 400 square foot footprint in the city code in Bend. They did not consider that a dwelling unit. And so City of Bend really pioneered this cottage code, which lots of cities across the United States are starting to adopt versions of this cottage code, which allow you to build small units and meet this need. And so that's kind of the evolution of like how the financing went and what we learned. And so now the financing is easy, but we had to change building code to get there. It was that drastic in a business model. So, this thing's been 6 years in the making as, the regulatory environment has had to catch up with the market demand.
Well, that's usually what happens. The regulatory environment has to catch up with actually what's going on in the world.
In the world, I know. Sometimes they're anywhere from like 10 to 70 years behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of the the carriage house movement started back about 5 years ago, where a lot of cities didn't allow to have a separate dwelling in the backyard, and
right.
They're still trying to have affordable housing for the people that work in the cities, and you could build a 2-car, 3-car garage and have a carriage house above it, and it being a separate dwelling. And a lot of the municipalities went ahead and changed those rules and allowed that to happen as well.
They did. And that was a big deal too. And that's something that we look at also and take advantage of. So Bend pioneered over here on the West Coast, we call those ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the East Coast, they get called carriage houses. And then somewhere in the middle, they get called mother-in-law units a lot. But yeah, it's all the same thing, kind of like a detached or sometimes attached, but like separate suite. So our next development, which is also here in Bend, it's a little 12-unit infill detached project, is really cool. But what we're doing on that is we have individual tax lots, and on the back half of it, we have our 2-bedroom model. And then on the front of it, we have our little like studio model that's of the lofted apartment, what we call our loft. And so that's the ADU. So you have a little 600 square foot ADU with a 900 square foot 2-bedroom home on the back. They're detached, separated by a cool little courtyard that they're both kind of looking into. And that housing type in Bend just sees so much demand, because you can either live in one, work in the other, live in the small one, rent out the big one, live in the big one, rent out the small one, have it as a guest house for family to come in, have multi-generational living, where you have grandparents or your millennial children, if you're a boomer, millennial children, or whatever, living on site with you, and then, or do Airbnbs, short-term rentals. So, something like that might be cost a little bit more. You can offset some of that mortgage cost, at least initially, by renting that out or having that extra space. But again, for us, it's going to be detached. And that was a new change to the code on the ADUs, is at one point they didn't consider if it was detached, it wasn't an ADU. You weren't allowed to do that. So now that change has taken place, we've been able to take advantage of that. And so we look at our different types of buildings and we just plop them on land like they're Lego blocks. We're like, okay, we want a little one here and a big one here and a big one here and a little one there. And so, that's been a part of our evolution as well. And again, it's a great way to create higher density housing in residential areas, because all of a sudden you get 2 residential units, 2 little households on a little infill lot here, instead of pushing those people further out into the suburbs or a bedroom community or something. So yeah, big fan of those changes in code as well. And we're watching those.
So Jonathan keeps hitting his mute because he's got noise behind him. It's okay. Most everyone watching has children too. So
yeah.
Not a big deal.
The best part of our life. That's the reason we all do what we do, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, I'm curious on what is the lot size that you are doing on these tiny homes?
So we can do like 1,500 square foot lots on these, and so pretty small lots compared to a traditional minimum of like 4 per acre or something in a residential zoned district. We also, there's 2 other pieces that are kind of in flux right now. One is with this state bill, House Bill 2001, that's going through, or I think it was actually just passed by Oregon like a month ago. It allows building like our type of unit in residentially zoned areas. And instead of our home counting as 1, our home counts as 0.25. So when you're doing your density calculation of 7 units per acre, ours only count as 0.25. So we can actually get 28 per acre. Now, can you practically get that many on? Well, it really depends on your layout. That would be pretty tight. But again, the ability to put, maybe it's 25 units in what was previously, you could only put 7. is a huge increase in density. And yet you're doing it in this really cool, detached, energy efficient, attractive way, instead of getting that density through just like multifamily apartments or commercial development or mixed use or whatever, which isn't a fit for every neighborhood. And so, yeah, so there's technically in some of this coding, in some of the building code, no minimum lot sizes, but a lot of times we're at about a 1,500 square foot lot on these homes.
That's amazing. Wow. I know, just kind of dovetailing off that, we're involved in the development of it's not a tiny home thing, but it's kind of like that's not a townhome. It's homes. They're all about 2,000, 2,500 square feet, but it's all with an organic farm, and it's built around the organic farm. So like, I think 30% of the produce from that farm, the residents get to utilize. The other 70% gets sold to local markets or stores. But yeah, it's like that kind of community aspect that people are trying to build. I think there's a big demand for it. A lot of people want that. And especially coming out of this whole social distancing isolation thing,
Right? Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And actually, it's really cool that you bring that up. I'd say that's probably the number one thing I just hear anecdotally from people, especially if they know I'm involved in like real estate development and building communities and all. They're like, oh, you know what my dream is? It's to build a community around this theme and have all my best friends move into it. Like literally everybody has that idea. Everybody wants that. And yet nobody's actually developing that. And building code isn't generally friendly to that kind of idea. But so I would kind of nickname that like thematic development communities. And so you build a community around a common theme that everybody loves. So everybody's into, organic farming, but nobody wants to run their own organic farm like you're talking about. So you build a big community garden, put, 20 homes around it, and they all kind of share it. And it attracts people that want that. And that's like the amenity that they're looking for. They're not looking for a gym amenity or a pool. They're looking for that organic garden that they can share and get in the dirt with their co-community members. And so people have suggested the most bizarre hobbies that they want a community of all their best friends to live into. Some of that I'm like, yeah, no, that'll never happen. But some of them are really cool ideas. The areas where I see these have actually happened is kind of like you see, like tennis communities and even like pickleball communities, and then certainly golf. But to a little bit different than we're talking about, because like living on a golf course and then like living in a community that's kind of surrounded one theme or kind of two different themes. But anyhow, that you're onto something too. So it's cool that you heard that and that you heard that anecdotal demand, man. Whoever pioneers that business model is gonna make a buck or two.
I think it's great, because actually what they're doing is, there's an HOA for those homes, and that HOA pays for the maintenance of the organic farm, so that the people there don't have to do, actually, if they want to, they can, but they don't have to do the work. It's, they hire out people to come in and pull weeds, garden it. And I'm not a big gardener, so, and do all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, that is awesome. That's how you got to do it. It was funny. I was in Utah just a couple of weeks ago looking at some huge master planned communities that are starting to be under horizontal construction there, and having like some different themes. So one of them had a series of ponds in it that they'd filled with water, and they're like, oh, we're going to stock these with trout and people can come and fish. And I'm a big fly fisherman. I love fishing. And so as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's my community. That's the one I want to live in, is the fly fishing community that has it like creeks and rivers and a bunch of little ponds full of trout or whatever that you can just go fly fish in all the time. I don't want to play pickleball or garden necessarily, but man, I'd fish for an hour after work every night. So yeah, we all have our own little hobby. And it would be very cool if the evolution of development moved toward almost like tribing up around those shared hobbies and passions that people have. And there's totally something there. So yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny you talked about pickleball, and now you're talking my age demographics. So
totally, yeah, pickleball. I know.
Bill,
Well,
have you ever played pickleball?
No, but I know it's tennis for the elderly.
Yeah, there was locally here a couple years ago. Somebody pitched the development of a pickleball community to me, and at the time, I think I'd heard the word pickleball, but had no idea what it was. And I scratched my head and was like, "That'll never sell. Who wants pickleball?" But turns out there's a lot of demand for a pickleball community. People like that.
The reason I never heard of it either until I started researching properties in South Florida. They're all over.
Oh, really?
They got pickleball in every community. It's so funny.
Pickleball everywhere. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those things you turn 65 and like the knowledge of pickleball just appears in your mind.
Yeah.
You don't have to learn it. It's there.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Coupled with a strong passion to play pickleball every day.
Well, Ryan, you're into so many things, and we're going to have you come back again and talk about some other stuff. I would like to get you to talk about mobile home parks as an investment as well. Unfortunately, we are well past our normal allotted time, and you had such great stuff. I didn't want to end it, but that gives us an excuse to bring you back.
We're going to have to bring him back. I mean, I called Ryan the other day to pick his brain about mobile home parks and how to structure debt and equity on it. So it was a great conversation, and I'd love for us to put that on video.
I know. Yeah. I'd love to. Yeah. We should have that conversation again and talk through it. So big fan of the mobile homes, especially with an affordable housing angle. And one of the investment funds that I manage is about a third invested in mobile home parks. And so that's an asset class I'm a big fan of for lots of reasons. So yeah, let's talk about that one another time.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way. Folks, thank you again for joining us on the Passive Wealth Show. We are Carolina Capital Management. We are lenders in the Southeast. If you're interested in borrowing money for fix and flip, or we have long-term programs now as well, carolinahardmoney.com. Click on the Apply Now tab. If you are a passive investor, click on the Accredited Investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell. Hit the bell. And lastly, make sure you book some time with Wendy. I'm going to pause momentarily for our awesome graphics. Wendy does free mentoring, 30-minute Zoom call with her on Wednesdays. She's usually booked out a couple of months in advance. So there's a link to her Calendly account, and schedule yourself a call. I think that's just about it. You guys have a wonderful week. Yeah, coming soon. January is with Jonathan. Jonathan, happy birthday.
Because July's with Jonathan was coming too soon, and I needed January.
You weren't prepared.
I wasn't prepared.
So happy birthday. What are you doing for your birthday?
Going out on my boat.
Excellent. Hope you catch some big ones.
Thank you.
And I hope you don't run out of gas.
Me too.
All right. See you guys next week.